Welcome into another episode of Collective Knowledge. I'm your host, Shane Barrett. You can find me on Twitter at FFShaneB. And joining me tonight is a very special guest. As you know, this is the second episode of Collective Knowledge for the week. And for our 30th episode, we have writer and podcaster for the Dynasty Nerds and ranker and occasional writer for Fantasy Pros, Mr. Garret Price. Garret, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well, Shane. Doing well. How are you?
I'm good, man. Like I said, excited to have you on. You were probably one of the first people I followed on Twitter, so like it's the culmination, I guess, of like I've made it.
No, I remember that same kind of feeling when I first, started in the space, and it's a weird transition at first because you just go from a person that really enjoys consuming content, and there's
Mhm.
podcasts you enjoy listening to and different writers that you talk to and agree with, and then all of a sudden you find yourself on the opposite end of things, and now you're creating content and you're creating audio, and you're doing all these things, and it's weird to see people that before you looked up to, and then you get a chance to talk to them like me, and you're like highly disappointed because they're not nearly as cool as you thought they were. So I remember that feeling.
No, man, this will be a fun episode. But yeah, it's a really cool feeling, like you said, going from just consuming and whatnot, and that's what I started as, was just a consumer, and then jumping into creating it, and now I get to interview one of the guys I started off consuming from. So I am excited.
Me
All
too,
right,
man. Me too.
so before we jump into the interview, gotta, pay the bills with a good old ad read. So I'm going to throw this up real quick and we are going to jump into that ad read. So, have you guys heard of Thrive Fantasy? If not, you should check it out and come prop up on Thrive Fantasy next football season. But if you're a degenerate like me, you can do baseball, you can do soccer now. They've got esports, they've got golf. If we ever get baseball, I think I already mentioned that, but they're in that good old lockout. So if we ever get that back, you can do baseball and you can do NBA right now. So what they do, it's their daily fantasy sports and esports app. You choose 10 out of the 20 available player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for the over or the under and the likelihood of that hitting. You hit the most props, rack up the most points, and win a share of the prize. And it's pretty easy to do because even I've done it. So when you're signing up, use promo code FFShaneB and you can sign up for Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store or by visiting their website, www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today. All right, let's jump into the questions. Garret, we got a comment. Craig, love Craig. He was on 2 episodes ago. If you don't know him, you should
What's
check him
up,
out.
Craig? How's it going, man?
So, and then Garret, are you ready?
I want to believe that I'm ready, but I know some of these are hard hitters, so we'll see.
Yeah, awesome. So, first question, I always start off with this one. Um, when was your first fantasy football league?
If I'm gonna count it, my buddies and I started one freshman year of high school. It
Okay.
lasted all of like 4 weeks before nobody paid attention anymore because we really didn't even know what we were doing, but we just had a fun time like drafting guys.
Yeah,
So I
totally.
think that's technically my first league. Yeah, I'll count that, I guess.
Okay. Do you remember the settings on that, like the league settings?
Oh, they were super basic. They
Okay.
were as vanilla, like whatever Yahoo gave out in 2005 or whatever that was. That
Yeah.
was that was the settings.
Okay. Sounds about right. Um, so obviously you said that league only lasted about 4 weeks, which that might be a record. Um, but what is your longest standing league now?
All right, so my home dynasty league is my longest standing league. We started a league the year after we graduated from college, and we are going to be, I believe this is going to be our 10th season
Oh,
this
that's
coming
awesome.
year. So yeah, so we've been at it a while, and still all the same original members as well, which is pretty cool.
That is
So
impressive. I don't think I've heard that so far from doing this show. That's really impressive.
Yeah. So same 10 guys that were in my buddy's apartment living room when we drafted. Those are the same 10 now. So it's still it's cool. And a lot of us are, I had a stint where I was in another state. We have a couple guys living in other states now, but almost every year we have all 10 either fly in, drive in, whatever for our draft too. So it's pretty
Oh,
cool.
that's awesome. So you guys are still doing in-person drafts every year?
Yep, every single year.
That's awesome. I
Yeah, it's
did my
really fun.
first in-person draft last year, actually, which I know is probably surprising since I am such a degenerate, but it was so much fun.
Oh, it's way better in
So,
person. Way better
yeah.
in person.
Okay, so for that Dynasty League, Garrett, what are the settings for that league?
So we were pretty progressive, especially at the time, because you think, a literal decade ago, you were
Mhm.
still dealing with like the big update was like PPR. Like that
Yeah.
was a really big addition to like the space. So we were pretty progressive at the time, though. So we did do the full point PPR. It was a dynasty league. But the thing that kind of differentiated us was we did a half a point per completion for quarterbacks.
Mm.
And so that really skyrocketed the value of the quarterback position. And we had a lot of guys that, didn't, I don't think really realize how valuable that was going to be. So the first 3 picks off the board, I'll remember them to this day, were Trent Richardson, Doug Martin, and Alfred Morris. Those were
Oh,
the first 3
wow.
picks off the board. Uh,
Wow.
yeah. And then I had picked 4, and I was like, uh, I'm gonna take Aaron Rodgers.
I
I think
love
that
it.
half I think that half point per completion is gonna be pretty important. And sure enough, it definitely was. So up until like last year, I still had him on my team from like the original squad, but I might have to like try to reacquire him again or something. We'll see.
I mean, it looks like he's got 4 more years, so you might want to, right?
Got 4 more years. Exactly.
Okay, so I gotta ask, how many times have you won that league?
This is tough. I've actually not won my home league.
Oh,
Now,
God.
I don't know how much time we have. I've been to the championship, I want to say 3 times. I believe I've been to the championship
Okay.
3 times. Uh, and I've been to the playoffs every year but one.
Okay.
So
Very nice.
I'm in it. I'm in it. But
Yeah.
I tell people that I was a 3-day champion of our league because we had. Hopefully you had time for the story. I don't know, but here it goes.
Yeah, come on.
So basically, it was year 2 of our league, and I got a like an amazing squad. Like the team is really really good, and going into Monday Night Football of the championship weekend,
Mhm.
I'm up. I want to say it was 17 points, 18 points, something like that, and I didn't have anybody left, and my buddy had Demaryius Thomas going, and so we're watching it together in person, and dude has like 12 or 13 points in the first half. I'm like, crap, like this is done. But he
Yeah.
has a really, really slow second half, and he hasn't really done much. But we get to like what I believe is probably going to be like their last drive, right?
Mhm.
And all Demaryius Thomas needs is 1 catch for 3 yards, and he was going to win. And so first play of the drive, Peyton Manning drops back to pass, throws it to Demaryius Thomas. Thomas drops it,
Oh
drops the
my.
pass. Second one also goes to Demaryius Thomas, overthrown, thrown over his
Okay.
head.
Yeah.
Get to third down in this game, and once again, Demaryius Thomas is targeted for the 3rd straight play, and shockingly, Peyton Manning throws an interception. So I'm losing my mind because I just won the championship
Yeah.
on a Peyton Manning interception of all things. So, I mean, he had just had a newborn kid. I'm like waking the kid up because I'm screaming in his house, and I'm like loving life. And so a few days later, I sit down on the toilet, and I look to relive my glory, and I'm looking on my phone and just want to see my name as, first place again. It just felt so good. And it says 2 out of 10. I was like, what?
Oh no.
Why does it say 2 out of 10? Sure enough, there was a situation with the New England Patriots that week where the opposing kicker had missed a field goal, but apparently Vince Wilfork got a finger on it and had altered it just enough that in retrospect, they counted it as a blocked kick, and that was worth 2 points. And I ended up losing in the championship. I had already gotten the money and everything. And it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal.
Oh, my heart hurts for you. Not only because it was on a Peyton Manning interception that you thought you had won, because he's my favorite player ever, but also because it was the Patriots that, of course, came back to bite you in the butt. Because as a Peyton Manning fan, I can't stand them. Oh man, that one hurts.
So yes, the long answer to that question is no. I have officially not won my home league yet.
Okay, well, this is the year. I can feel
this is the year.
Go get Aaron Rodgers, and he will lead you to the promised land, and maybe he'll lead the Packers to the promised land too. Who knows?
There we go.
All right, Garrett, how many leagues are you in right now, if you don't mind me asking? And you can
no, you're fine. I don't think my wife's watching, so I am in 17 leagues.
Okay. Not as bad as it could have been.
Sure.
I think last year with Best Ball, I ended up in 38. And I'm never doing that again. Like, it was way too many.
Yeah.
So here's how I preface this next question for you, Garrett. Let's say 17 is your max, but then someone comes in and asks you, hey, you want to join this league, but the only way you join it, Garrett, is if it's your favorite settings. What are those settings that say, yes, I'm taking this to 18?
Okay. So it would absolutely have to be Superflex. That's a non-negotiable for me at this point. I am a big fan of the tiered PPR. So half point for running backs, full point for receivers, and then 1.5 for tight ends.
Beautiful.
It seems to kind of even out the value of some of those running backs where they're getting points for not really doing anything.
Yeah.
But they still get a half a point for the catch and whatnot, but it helps mellow that out a little bit. So I would say that's probably my favorite setting. Now, I prefer to also be a Devy league. So if there's some sort of, doesn't even have to be super deep, 3-4 players, I'm fine with that. But I like having the option of being able to trade Devy guys as opposed to just draft picks and stuff like that. And so I think those would be the main things for me that would make it more enticing.
Nice. Have you played any tiered PPR by distance?
I've heard of people doing that. And I've heard of people doing, instead of PPR, they do it for first down as well.
Okay.
So you get a point for first down. So it's like the value of a catch, is it an actual valuable catch or not? So I've heard a couple different ways to mitigate the PPR-ness of leagues.
Yeah. Tiered PPR by distance is my favorite. So the fact that you even brought up tiered PPR in general, you just made my heart happy, because it's awesome. It's so much fun that way.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Next question. When did you start making content for fantasy football?
I started unofficially. I've been doing it forever because I would always write write-ups for my home league about who was playing who, and it was mostly just like an opportunity to trash talk more than anything. But one of my buddies came up to me, and this would have been probably in 2017, 2018, somewhere in there, and was like, hey, these write-ups you do, they're actually not half bad. You should, maybe do them for people that care. And I was like, thank you. I think thank you. So I had just so happened to be listening to Dynasty Nerds, and they were talking about bringing on some new writers. And so in December of 18 was when I joined in with Dynasty Nerds and started writing. And then I joined in the podcast in March or April of 19.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, you've been on the podcast since I've listened, so I enjoy that.
Yeah, it is funny because I remember for a while I was like the new guy, and now most of our listeners don't remember a time when I wasn't on there. So it's
Yeah.
really interesting to see how that's played out.
Yeah. Okay, so you kind of just answered this, but what else made you start? I know that your friend said, "Hey, these are good. You should write it for someone that cared." But what else motivated you to actually reach out to Dynasty Nerds and start creating content?
Yeah, it was one of those things where I loved doing it anyway. There were a lot of things I would create my own trade value charts just based on, how valuable I thought certain players were and, different things like that. And so there were a lot of things that I would just do on my own naturally when I was bored or, when I should actually be working or, whatever. And I just found myself all the time doing that. I have a background in doing youth and sports ministry. And so I was
Cool.
always comfortable speaking in front of people and things like that as well. And so podcasting and writing and all of that just kind of was a natural outpouring of my love of football, which, I played at Malone University, and I fell in love with fantasy football, and it just all kind of flowed naturally into that. So it was kind of this inevitable thing of eventually I was going to be doing it. It was just a matter of, was anybody actually going to care? Was anybody actually going to listen?
Yeah.
Or is it just going to be me talking into like an empty void?
Yeah,
But fortunately, people have enjoyed it. So
awesome. Do you remember what your first piece of content was?
my first piece of content, I wouldn't even agree with now. I would go back and erase it if I could. But my article was that Pat Mahomes, and this would have been right after his rookie season, or maybe. Well, no, it would have been right after his second season because that was his big year. That Pat Mahomes should be the 1-1 in all formats, including 1 QB leagues. And I was talking about the longevity of the quarterback position. And, I made the argument of, different players like, Aaron Rodgers was drafted at a similar time period as Adrian Peterson. And even though Adrian Peterson was great, Aaron Rodgers, the longevity of his career was so much longer, blah, 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 blah. So that was kind of the crux of the argument. But if it were me today, I still wouldn't touch one until best case scenario round 3. But I don't even play 1 QB anymore, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I don't know if you do underdog drafts, but last year you could get Mahomes in the 3rd round of underdog drafts. And I smashed him every time there. And I don't feel like it paid off as much as it should have, but to me, even there, it seemed like such a value. So
Sure.
I totally get what you're saying there. And my wife, who is a Chiefs fan, would agree with you that he's the 101 in all formats. Even in our family league that she's in, she's gotten the 101, I think 2 or 3 times. And every time she gets it, she takes Patrick Mahomes first, no matter what.
There you go. Done and done.
She subscribes to that with you.
She probably read my article. Sorry about that.
That's all right. She's won the league and I haven't, and I'm not bitter at all. So, Garrett, what's your favorite thing about the fantasy football community?
Man, there's a lot of things that are really, really dope about the fantasy football community, but overall in general, they're really good at propping up new upcoming people. They're really good at kind of allowing people to get into the space, get their feet wet. You'll have a jerk or two here and there, but for the most part, they're really good about, allowing new people to come into the space and grow at, whatever pace that means. If that means, it takes you 5 years to get your first 1,000 followers, awesome. If you jump to 10K in the first year, awesome. But they're really good at kind of helping get that going for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that answer. I had a reply and it just goes, what?
Don't you love it when that happens?
Yes, it's my favorite. It says, so I'm in upstate South Carolina and was listening to ESPN Upstate one day, and the radio host, I think it was Mark Ryan, was talking about how he had to sneeze on air. And I was like, what? I tweeted back to him because I was listening at that time. And I said, what's worse, Mark? Is it sneezing on air or sneezing while you're driving? And I think the third option is forgetting a question that you need to ask in an interview.
There you
So,
go. There you go. Have you ever sneezed and farted at the same time?
dude, it's painful.
It is. They come out so fast.
So fast and so forceful. It's just, yeah, it's painful. Um, all right, let's get a little bit back on track. Okay, so I got a question for you. Are you full time in the fantasy industry?
No, I'm not technically full time. I do still have a day job.
Okay,
At some point, I'm gonna have to make that decision. Uh, we've been very very blessed with how Dynasty Nerds has grown over the past 4 years or so that I've been a part of it. So yeah, that day is coming eventually, but we're just not quite there yet.
yeah, totally. The reason I asked that is because the next question is just tell us a little bit about who you are as a person outside of fantasy football.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a beautiful wife that I've been married to. It'll be 10 years in August.
Awesome.
Uh, and I have two beautiful daughters. One just turned 7 this past week, and the other one is 4, going to be turning 5 here in April.
Awesome.
And
Happy
a
birthday,
lot of my
girls.
time, what's that?
Happy birthday, girls.
Yeah, there you go. A lot of my time is spent just goofing around with them. That's what I love doing the most. For a long time, I worked in different capacities in different church facilities, whether it would be youth ministry, sports ministry, things like that. But as of recently, this past year, I've actually been doing a lot of marketing for an autographs company that's based out of Chicago, and that's been really cool. I've
Very
really
cool.
enjoyed that. I've learned a lot about the marketing industry and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been good.
Awesome. What's your degree in,
Youth
if you
and
don't mind me
sports
asking?
ministry.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Um, I was just curious since you transitioned into marketing.
Yeah, kind of
So
random, right?
yeah, but it makes sense because, like you said earlier, like you're used to speaking to people and whatnot, and like catering to people, producing content. So you've got experience in it. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah, yeah, it worked out nice, and I've had to learn a lot of stuff with Premiere and Photoshop over the years and stuff too,
Yeah.
which definitely helped out with that.
Very cool. Um, what are your hobbies outside of fantasy football?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, fantasy football is the hobby.
Yeah.
I've always been a guy that's been like a big sports guy.
Okay.
Period. Like it was always kind of like, all right, like even growing up, it was go to church on Sunday and maybe like do some Wednesday night stuff or whatever. But then like all of the rest of my time is either sports video games or
Hmm.
shooting hoops outside or watching the Cleveland Indians play or whatever. Like all of my time was somehow some even collecting sports cards and all of that.
Yeah.
Now over the years I've diversified a little bit in my interests, but still a lot of it's heavily influenced by sports. But I love games, specifically like board games. I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy getting the opportunity, especially like with family and friends, because you watch a movie together and that's fun, but you don't get to interact and talk and goof
Or in
around and stuff
talk.
like
Yeah.
that. So that's the fun part about board games is you get that interaction time. I love trying like random restaurants. The more
Okay.
local hole in the wall place, the better.
Totally.
Um, and then I enjoy music and podcasts because I sit at my desk all day for the most part.
Yeah.
I consume a lot of music and a lot of lately it's been a lot of like murder podcasts and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I feel like a 55-year-old white woman, but it's been fun though. I've enjoyed it.
Okay, I got to go down this rabbit hole to tell a quick story. If I ever get murdered, I have always
Uh-huh.
said that the first two people you need to look at are my mother and my wife because they love those murder crime TV shows and podcasts and whatnot. They're
Yeah.
going to be the ones that did it because they know how to cover it up from doing so much research.
Right, right. That's 100% accurate. That's 100% accurate.
Yeah. So, um, what's your favorite board game?
Ooh.
Do you have one?
It's tough right now. Uh, I would say I'm gonna lean Parks. I really
Okay.
like Parks a lot. Wingspan is another one that I'm a big fan of.
Okay.
Uh, then my brother-in-law and I just got into one that like takes nerdiness to kind of like a whole nother level. But
Talk to me.
it's there's a video game called Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Uh, they made a board game version of it that
Okay.
is
That's actually kind of cool.
it's super cool, and they did an incredible job of like keeping to the characters and the story and the feel of the game really translated well into the board game. They did a
Oh, that's
fantastic, like
awesome.
better than any movie, show, board game that I've ever seen. They did an incredible job with it. So it's a lot though. Like to be able to finish a campaign, you're talking like 12 hours or something
Oh,
ridiculous like
goodness.
that. So yeah, it's intense. Like you have to like break it up into chunks or you're not
Yeah.
going to be able to finish it. So, but it's really fun.
No, that's really cool. Um, I'm gonna nerd out for a minute here. Did you ever play a game called Heroescape?
I've heard of it, but I've never played it.
Okay, that one was a fun one, that I played as a kid. And I just Googled it to see, like, if it's still available, and I think it is, but I don't know if it's worth the expense now, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Sure.
So, alright, that wraps up the first section of the show. Are you ready for rapid fire?
I think so. Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, and just so you know, this is rapid fire. So I will delve into a follow-up question if I see fit.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw you a curveball after this first rapid fire question. Just throwing that out there now. Okay.
Okay.
On three, are you ready?
All right, I'm ready.
Favorite NFL team?
Browns.
Go Browns. We'll talk about that later. Favorite college football team?
Ohio State.
Okay. Favorite sport that's not football?
To play basketball, to watch baseball.
Love it. Favorite food?
If I'm going somewhere nicer ish, then probably ribs.
Okay. Favorite sports movie?
For the nostalgia alone, I'm gonna go Sandlot.
Oh, great movie, and I think that's the first answer that I've gotten of that, so I love that. Um, Favorite non-sports movie?
Inception.
Oh, great choice.
I'm a big
Oh,
Christopher Nolan fan.
yeah, that's a great choice. And I love Leonardo DiCaprio in that and just in general, so yeah, love
Oh
that
yeah.
choice. Favorite band?
Of ooh, I should always struggle with this one. I'm gonna go 21 Pilots.
Okay, that's a good one too. Favorite adult beverage?
I don't drink a ton, but I've just recently learned that I like whiskey more than I realized. So I'm gonna go with
Cheers.
whiskey. Cheers. There we go.
So, I'm, drinking a little Maker's Mark.
There we go.
Um Curveball again. Favorite video game?
Ooh, all time?
Yeah.
Probably BioShock.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Favorite TV show?
Stranger Things.
Okay. Favorite actor?
I will go with I'm gonna go off the wall here. I'm
Let's
gonna
do
go with
it.
Andy Samberg, which is
Okay.
not the right answer, but I love Andy Samberg.
Hey, it's your favorite. Who cares? Okay, yesterday was International Women's Day, so I'm gonna ask you favorite actress too.
Okay, my favorite actress is probably I'm a big Sandra Bullock guy, so we'll go Sandra Bullock.
That is what Dan, who my guest was yesterday, said too, actually.
There we
Um,
go.
because she's extremely versatile.
She is. Second favorite would be Kristen Wiig, though. I really like Kristen Wiig a
Okay,
lot too.
that's a good one too. All right, this one I need right now and all time. Are you
Okay,
ready?
yeah.
Favorite defensive player?
Right now, I will say Miles Garrett.
Love it.
All time, probably Brian Urlacher.
Okay, very good choice. Same thing for this next question. All time and right now, favorite offensive player?
Right now, Nick Chubb. All time, I am going to go with. I always struggle with this one. I'll say LaDainian Tomlinson.
Great choice. All right, Garrett, I appreciate you. That wraps up this episode of Kollectiv Knowledge.
Thank you so
Before
much for
we
having me
go,
on, man.
yeah, before we go, where can people find you on Twitter? And is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Price. And probably the biggest thing I plug right now is the Dynasty Nerds Film Room. We are knee deep into rookie season. We just finished up with the combine. This is the time to get in and really watch tape of these rookies. We've got tons of all 22. Like I was watching Jameson Williams some today, and we have 6 games of all 22 on him in the film room right now. So if you're looking to really kind of step up your game and really evaluate these players in the best possible way, film room's the way to do it.
Yeah, no, and as a subscriber to that, I second that. You guys in my former company, the Astronauts, the 2
Yeah,
film rooms that you guys put out are the best resources for film on the internet, if you ask me. So definitely invest in that. It's worth it. I think it's like $3 a month. If I remember right, I'm doing the ad for you.
there we go.
But it's totally worth it. And I love it because for me, like I'll go to the Astronauts first because it's free, but then now
Sure.
I've paid for the film room, and that way I can get different games and different angles for the same player and get that much
Sure.
more study done. So
Absolutely.
I absolutely love it. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. This was an absolute blast for me. If you guys enjoy the show, hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, FF_Kollectiv. That's KOLLECTIV. This will come out as an audio only podcast version in 2 weeks because this was a special episode on the Fantasy Nightcap, which is at Fantasy Nightcap on Twitter. And then you can follow me on Twitter at FFShaneB. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.